Across the country, events are being held such as this to really celebrate the impact and the influence of the Latino vote in this election. Organizations such as Voces Frontera Action have been working for years on get out the vote efforts, and it's at this point where the demographics have caught up in terms of really having it be recognized for the influence it has been having over the elections. But I must say that it was the deferred action that really motivated Latino voters to turn out in this election and gave hope that this means progress. And so there is very much a decision that's been made by Latino voters, which is that we are giving President Obama a second chance to deliver on his promise of federal immigration reform and really build the kind of political will that's necessary to make that happen. An important litmus test for immigrant rights groups, for labor groups, civil rights groups, is obviously a path to citizenship. We don't want a legalization that creates a second-tier status of people that are even in a worse position than folks who are undocumented right now. So a path to citizenship is critical. It should be something that's accessible. Deferred action was a good example of something that had input and is something that is economically reasonable, because you're talking about low-wage working families. So it has to be a process that is simple, affordable, and that brings people into the fold and grants them full rights in terms of a path to citizenship. No, there is in terms of the executive power, which is one thing that Obama does have control over. He has a lot of room to work with. Deferred action can be extended to other groups. In terms of prosecutorial discretion, Jennifer Martinez, her husband, Jaime Martinez, Salvador, are two examples of the fact that we're not deporting people who really represent a threat to society. Their charge was simply re-entry. A majority of immigrant workers are being deported on re-entry charges. And they're people with no criminal record who have a loving family, have deep ties to this community. So Immigration Customs Enforcement has to be held accountable to meaningful implementation of those priorities. Re-entry has to be considered in a full context in terms of who we're deporting. And they should be granting those visas, not just to dream students, but to a broader category if we're going to see the kind of obstructionist politics. And if that's done, people will continue the kind of support that's been demonstrated for reasonable and humane policy. It's also about funding priorities. ICE is being compelled to meet quotas, citizenship programs are underfunded right now. So we need to shift priorities so that we are a welcoming country of immigrants again. And that's, again, something that can be done in the budget process. I think it's these kind of actions, not just at the voting booth, but this kind of pressure, which these are not just immigrant families. You have families here, I myself am one of them, who are not affected by deportation right now, but we stand in solidarity. My parents were immigrants, one from Germany, one from Mexico, and they came in a period where anti-immigration laws were not as restrictive. And I'm a U.S.-born citizen, and I'm in solidarity because, I think anyone can understand what the pain of losing your parent and not be able to be by their side in those last few days. The pain of not seeing your children grow up. And I think part of the message is that these immigrant families are not alone.